ambushed more than 100 partygoers early Sunday morning. Sarah Lee Kessler reports.
Police say the gunmen were hiding behind 6-foot hedges early Sunday when they fired into the crowd. 13 people ages 18 to 24 were hit, including a man and a woman who were shot in the face. The city's police chief says the hosts had applied for a permit to sell alcohol and were turned down, but did it anyway. Police are still trying to establish a motive for the violence. Sarah Lee Kessler, Connecticut.
Angered over joint U.S.-South Korean military drills, North Korea is once again threatening a preemptive nuclear strike. Musician Toots Thielemans has died at the age of 94, according to the London Guardian. He started his career with Benny Goodman during his European tour before moving to the United States, working with Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, Billy Joel, and Natalie Cole. By the way, he played harmonica.
We're here to fix the machine. Battlefield Live.
You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network, the Battlefield Live radio program. Want to thank you for joining us on the battlefield today. And as usual, we have a packed show for you today, and I'm going to do something a little different. Usually, when I do a profile every show. Last week was probably a little different due to the storm that came through the Baton Rouge area, all the flooding, and so we kind of, I guess, dipped out of the water of the political stream, if you will. And we're going to get back into a little bit that this week, and I will give some updates on the Cajun Navy as well as now the Cajun Army. But what I'm going to do today is instead of in my second hour discussing a profile, we're going to actually profile someone out of history in order to set up a discussion that we're going to have about Obamacare, along with some other things in the liberal economic spectrum. It should be pretty interesting for you if you are looking for something less anecdotal, I guess you could say, on why liberalism or socialism, progressivism doesn't work in the world of economics. So we'll discuss a little bit of that. We'll use a profile of Mao Zedong and some of the things that he implemented in China and how it failed him, and how similar things are happening here with a controlled economy like we're seeing in Obamacare. So, but before we start that, I want to make sure that I give you our phone number, 504-556-9696, if you want to give us a call. Also, the Cajun Navy is shifting more to a recovery mode rather than a rescue mode, and we're seeing another group has just sprouted. It is now the Cajun Army, which you can find on Facebook, and they are endorsed at this moment by Chris Pilier and the Battlefield Live and Lanterns Radio Network. They are doing a fantastic job, and they're working hand in hand with Rob Godet from the Cajun Navy. And now their efforts are more into going into homes and helping people that need some assistance with fixing the homes. Also, the Cajun Navy obviously is still in the mode of providing guidance and help where needed as far as getting supplies, food and water to communities all around the state. And it's absolutely amazing. I still, to this day, I listen every day to the Cajun Navy on Zello, the app Zello, and you can hear the dispatching taking place. It's not as active as it was during the rescue effort, but it's still interesting to hear nonetheless some of the conversations going back and forth, and viewing on Glimpse, the app Glimpse, to see the distribution network they have in place. Absolutely top of the line, state of the art system that they have in place. So check them out. Also, the Cajun Navy on Facebook. Interesting day today. I went back to my first day of working. Felt a little bit more like normal today. Got to hear a lot of stories from people around the area that experienced some flooding issues in the Baton Rouge area, and very interesting, stories. People that, for instance, there's one story where a guy and his wife evacuated a home, put all of their belongings in a car, drove to another place that is in higher ground. Their home flooded, so good thing that they packed up the car with all their belongings. But little did they know that the house that they were going to, that at some point they would be on the roof of that home looking for rescue. So just the amount of impact that the storm has is absolutely phenomenal and breathtaking, and just so many stories out there. Second thing that happened today is after work, I had been contacted this weekend by a gentleman from New York who is doing some, I guess you could say, citizen journalism, and wanted to interview me and hear the story that I had to tell. Of course, my first comment to him was that, this story that I have is one of probably thousands of people stories out there explaining what took place during this flood event. But I did, offer my perspective and explain that I do believe that this is the true nature of America, and ultimately the solution to a lot of our problems is the essence of the Cajun Navy and the Cajun Army and the people involved with these loosely knit groups. So we took a drive throughout the flood-affected area here around the Prairieville area as well as Port Vincent, and they asked some pretty interesting questions along the way, including some things that were more, I guess you could say, politically aimed. And I'm sure that while they did their research on me and finding out who I was and why they wanted to interview me, I imagine they stumbled across some of my work with the Battlefield Live and Lanterns Radio Network and some of my opinion pieces. And I don't mind sharing my political opinions. And the questions they asked were not, dive bomb questions as far as asking straightforward political questions. They were more general in nature. Some of it had to do with where people in Louisiana asking questions or discussing why is it that the storm frequency is in the way that it is. Why was this storm so massive and so in water dumped on this area for so long? And, so my thoughts were, this is kind of something that we're used to. This particular storm was pretty fierce as far as the amount of rainfall, and it was localized, and it wasn't moving like other storms have. But, I mean, we saw an event similar to this with Isaac. It didn't flood as bad, but this is something that we're used to. We're used to storms in this area. I mean, obviously with Katrina and with Rita, as well as other storms like Andrew, and I remember Juan back in the 80s. There's all kind of storms that have come this area, and I don't think that this particular storm exemplifies anything different in that respect. So, but then they also asked some questions about, in regards to global warming, because we're talking about global warming. Why is it that I think that global warming is an agenda being used by people for an opportunity to pass certain particular policies? And this kind of segues into the conversation that we're going to have tonight about Obamacare. I explained to them that there was progressives for the most part. They utilize events, whether they're crises or, the momentum of different mass movements in order to be able to perpetuate their policy. So in other words, like the environmental movement, while the intentions are good to impact the environment in a good way, progressives and Marxists alike, they utilize the momentum of the environmental movement in order to be able to pass anti-capitalist or anti-free market policy in order to be able to shut down large corporations and things of that nature, like coal industry, the fossil fuel industry. And, if you don't know, the energy sector, if you will, if you want to use Soviet terms, the sectors, but the energy side of our economy is pretty much the heartbeat of the economy. If you think about the fossil fuel aspect, I mean, that is a large portion of our economy. So if you pull and rein in the fossil fuel industry, you can control the economy. You can steer the economy. People that are liberal, progressive, socialist in nature, they believe they can do that successfully. And unfortunately, they are wrong. And evidence is everywhere to prove it so. So one of the things that I want to get into tonight is I want to discuss out of my book Deus Ex Machina that I wrote, a chapter about Mao Zedong. And so what's interesting about Mao Zedong is that he tried to implement these 5-year plans. Stalin also did this, where they do this mass control of the economy and mass control of the industry and try to perpetuate their communist plans, right, or their progressive plans, socialist plans, whatever you want to call it. And the result of it was disastrous. And I think when I read this part of this chapter to you, you'll gain a perspective. I think that maybe if you don't know the history of Mao and Mao's China, it'll open your eyes, and we'll segue that into Obamacare. So stick with us on the battlefield. We'll be right back after this short break.
Check out DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops. Don't miss out on their happy hour, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. You get $2 domestic bottles, $1.75 domestic draft, 2 for $1 well drinks, $3 small daiquiris, and $3 wine. On Friday, happy hour starts at 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. DBC also has everything you need to make it your fantasy football headquarters, with 13 big screen TVs, the Sunday NFL package, and ESPN game plan. You won't miss a down. DBC wants you to have your fantasy draft party here. Just call 504-838-2282, 504-838-2282 to book your draft now. DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops.
Millions of people are asking the question, what has happened to America? Is there hope? What will our children and grandchildren face in years to come? America, there is hope. The same hope expressed by the colonists in 1607 when they placed a cross on the Virginia shore, proclaiming, "In God we trust." In God we trust. It's still our hope. It's our future. It's our national motto. Go to ingodwetrust.com and get your hope today.
Did you ever think that the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States would have similar policy and, suggestions as the Democratic Socialist candidate?
I never thought that a Republican candidate for president would hold both liberal and conservative policies at the same time.
Right.
I mean, this is totally fascinating. Visit the website battlefield.buzz for the latest from Chris and Trey from the Battlefield Live radio show. Are you looking for a reasonable and affordable way to enhance your image or your company's image on the internet? Are you looking for ways to leverage internet technology to streamline your business? An upgraded website or web application is the way to go. Vast Virtual Solutions is a technology company that specializes in developing websites that operate on the cutting edge with the ability to save you and your business time and money. Visit vastvirtual.com for a business quote today. vastvirtual.com.
Experience Augie's, formerly Augie's Glass Garden, now in Harahan. Augie's, truly a gorgeous place. Where can you go to experience super jumbo soft-shell crabs for only $14.95 and the area's largest seafood platters? Private parties, receptions, reunions, and events of all types can be handled at Augie's. 6005 Jefferson Highway in Harahan. Call for reservations 733-3000. Check us out on the web, augiesnola.com.
Thank you for sticking with us on the battlefield. You're listening to Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network, Battlefield Live, and WGSO 990 AM. I want to thank you for sticking with us. Folks, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us on social media. You can find me at Paul Revere again on Twitter, as well as Lanterns Buzz. That's the Lanterns Radio Network Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Lanterns Buzz, or you can find my personal page at facebook.com/Paul Revere again. You can also find us on Google+. We don't pitch that a whole lot, but it's there. And also, you can find our podcast at Spreaker.com SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Player.fm. We're also on the Red Nation Rising Network, Red State Talk Radio Network, ICRN Network, and Lanterns Radio Network. Folks, we're everywhere. I would even say we're probably on some sonograms in some places. Yes, we are. So where should we begin? So the book Deus Ex Machina is a book that I wrote with Trey Roberts. We actually wrote it several years ago. It was called The Machine, The Progression of Secular Socialism. And we decided to rename the book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, because it represented, I guess you could say, a more metaphorical view or vision of what progressivism is, where progressives actually install what they call secular humanism, or socialism is another way of looking at it, or progressivism, liberalism. It's all secular humanism is really what it boils down to. And so they're building this machine, and this machine is one to be worshipped. It is an idol, if you will. They're building a utopian world or a utopian vision that could never really truly exist. Utopia, if you know the word utopia, means it stands for no place. And so the policies that are put in place by socialists, if you look at the extreme versions of it, you'll find, Stalin, Lenin, even Hitler was a socialist. He was a national socialist. Mao Zedong, so many out there, Fidel Castro. And the results are not only disastrous for the economy, but also disastrous for humanity. So much death is surrounded by socialism, or I should say so much death surrounds socialism. And the reason why is because it strips out the heart of humanity. The intention is to beat down and curb the will of man in order to be able to ignore their nature. Our nature is self-interest. We are driven by self-interest, whether it's good or bad, because we could argue the case of what is good self-interest and what's bad self-interest. The fact is that we are self-interested. And part of the reason why a free market economy works so well is because of the fact that people that are engaged in it are heavily involved in their pursuit of self-interest, or we would say in the Declaration of Independence, the pursuit of happiness. So let me read a little bit of this chapter here. It basically is on, if you have the book, it's page 92 of Deus Ex Machina, The Progression of Secular Socialism. Mao Zedong is relevant to the machine due to his development of his own distinct version of Marxism. Much like Lenin, he worked to overthrow the feudal system in China and install a government that would represent the workers, quote unquote. Meeting with little success with the workers, Mao turned his appeals to the peasants. Coming from a peasant family, Mao was able to connect with the peasants and educate them with his great personal perspective about the Marxist ideology. Mao was successful in bringing about a violent revolutionary spirit. His Red Army, which is different from Lenin's Red Army, was notorious for his relentless torture tactics that were performed on prisoners. After years of combating several factions, Mao took control of China's media to promote his ideology and his Communist Party. He was then able to take control of China. His reign of terror, with mass repression and execution of intellectuals, businessmen, counter-revolutionaries, and the Chinese landowners. During the campaign of repression and terror, as many as 5 million people may have been killed, many of them in mass suicides, along with 1.5 million people sent to labor camps, all in the name of securing the country. Let me explain something, folks, about revolutionaries. Marxism is an ideology that believes that in order to be able to progress, you have to get rid of the skin, if you will, of society. It's kind of like molting of reptiles. You get rid of their skin, and that's how renewal takes place. And the way that these violent revolutionary communists did it, like Mao, like Lenin and Stalin, and even Hitler, which he wasn't a communist, he was a socialist, national socialist, or Nazi, like we call him, is that they kill mass portions of society to eliminate the old. So, and this is an ideological thing, and they don't see life as cherished. It's not as important. It's material. That's it. That the workers serve a purpose, and it's to create a great heaven on earth, if you will. So I read a little further. It says, from 1953 to 1958, Mao implemented the 5-year plan. This is what I want to focus on, which was aimed at converting China's predominantly agricultural society to one rather more industrialized and independent. With aid from the communist Soviet Union, many industrialist plants were built. Eventually, China stood on its own and went on expanding its industrial relevance. In 1958, Mao laid out plans for his next 5-year plan called the Great Leap Forward. This plan included the confiscation of land and property and education reforms. With Mao's own form of No Child Left Behind, he modified the Chinese written language in order to increase literacy. With Mao's focus on Marxist collectivism, he demanded that all private food be banned and confiscated, forced the surrender of all private livestock, and implemented working communes where peasants were forced to work on massive infrastructure projects. With broad strokes of government assertion, Mao experimented with new, largely unproven agricultural techniques in these communes. Along with the removal of any and all production incentives, the imposition of those government regulations forced grain production down to as much as 14% in 1959. Now, this is really what I want you to focus on, folks. And I want you to think about, I talked about earlier about the nature of man. What is our nature? We wish to be successful. We wish to seek out our own self-interest. What is your incentive? Think about what your incentive is every day when you get up to go to work, right? Some will say it's money. Some will say it's wealth. Some will say it's security. All of these things revolve around the sacrifice of our labor in exchange for something monetary, whether it's in most cases, it's money. So we put money in our bank, and that is our incentive. It is profit that we seek out. It's no different than a corporation. A corporation's incentive is profit. So that is what determines value in our society. So, and I'm going to explain a little bit of that more. I don't want to dive too much into that. I want to kind of open this onion layer, if you will, very slowly so we understand. So let's get back into this. It's the following year, there was a further 10% drop. Under pressure from the government to increase production, grain producers lied about their circumstances to avoid punishment. This caused mass confusion in food distribution planning by the government. The result of this confusion and several natural disasters was the Great Chinese Famine. Now, this is where it really gets crazy. There are conflicting reports about the death toll of the Great Chinese Famine. Some estimates put death toll at over 70 million people as a result of this extreme regulation. It is apparent that the Chinese government was incapable of controlling food production. The program was a failure, and Mao canceled it in 1962. Folks, this is what we have to talk about because this is a serious issue, right? So stick with us on the battlefield. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to explain why all of this is relevant to now. Stick with us on the battlefield. We'll be right back after this short break.
Check out DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops. Don't miss out on their happy hour, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. You get $2 domestic bottles, $1.75 domestic draft, 2-for-1 well drink, $3 small daiquiris, and $3 wine. On Friday, happy hour starts at 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. That's right, 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. DBC also has great food for lunch or dinner. You have to try their mouth-watering, appetite-satisfying 8-ounce brisket burger, cooked to your liking. Another favorite at DBC is their Wednesday night steak night. You get a 14-ounce ribeye with a side of garlic and mashed potatoes, green beans, and garlic bread for $15. On Thursday night, you can't go wrong with their 8-ounce hamburger steak, smothered in gravy and grilled onions with a side of garlic mashed potatoes, peas, and garlic bread for $9.95. You can check out the rest of their menu online at dbcbarandgrill.com.
Millions of people are asking the question, what has happened to America? Is there hope? What will our children and grandchildren face in years to come? America, there is hope. The same hope expressed by the colonists in 1607 when they placed a cross on the Virginia shore, proclaiming, "In God we trust." In God we trust. It's still our hope. It's our future. It's our national motto. Go to InGodWeTrust.com and get your hope today.
Experience Augie's, formerly Augie's Glass Garden, now in Harahan. Augie's, truly a gorgeous place. Where can you go to experience super jumbo soft-shell crabs for only $14.95 and the area's largest seafood platters? Private parties, receptions, reunions, and events of all types can be handled at Augie's. 6005 Jefferson Highway in Harahan. Call for reservations 733-3000. Check us out on the web, augiesnola.com.
Go.
USA Radio News with Rod Williams-Dole.
Well, the estimate is that approximately 110,000 homes have been affected by this disaster.
That was Louisiana Congressman Garrett Graves. He says some areas of Baton Rouge received 31 inches of rain, record-breaking floods. Ascension Parish Homeland Security Director Richard Weber says Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson did a great job assessing the damaged areas.
He toured our shelters, he toured our animal control areas, he toured some of the impact areas. Really concerned and subdued guy, but he asked some poignant questions that needed to be answered.
National Institutes of Health Dr. Anthony Fauci says there are two main problems facing parts of South Florida when it comes to Zika.
The conditions there, the semi-tropical weather conditions, the density of mosquitoes, particularly in the two areas of Wynwood and Miami Beach.
This is USA Radio News.
Hey everybody, singer-songwriter Brett Watts here. If you're like me, always on the go, and don't have time to stay as healthy as we would like by eating all the right foods, well, I found an incredibly simple and easy way to get all my fruits and vegetables at once. It's called Daily Lift, L-I-F-T. It's a superfoods energy drink mix supplement that fills the gaps between what you eat and what you don't always have time to eat. This unique formula is packed with 16 plus fruits and vegetables and 59 superfoods. No MSG or GMO. It's all natural and organic. Nature's best combination of antibiotics, enzymes, probiotics, and beneficial allergies in one powdered drink mix. Comes in two flavors, mint and berry, and both delicious. Daily Lift nutrients help balance your body's pH levels and boost your energy naturally. And it's safe for kids. So let's fire up that immune system and stay focused. Go to www.onedailylift.com. That's one, O-N-E, dailylift.com. onedailylift.com, and let's get healthy.
This is Jeff Cruier with my commentary of the day. Well, Donald Trump is now saying that the Clinton Foundation should close. And of course it should. This is a bogus organization. It's all about making money for Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. Reports show that 90% of what is raised goes toward overhead and salaries. Only 10% goes to charity. Ask the people in Haiti how much work the Clinton Foundation has done for them. Their fundraising practices have been despicable, raising money from countries with abysmal records on human rights, on the treatment of gays and women. There's also been way too much collusion between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation. Officials with the Clinton State Department were in close contact with Clinton Foundation staff members. Requests were made to give special treatment to big donors to the Clinton Foundation. And this is one scam which needs to come to an end. More info on this and the other hot topics of the day, check out ringsidepolitics.com.
Did you ever think that the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States would have similar policy and, suggestions as the Democratic Socialist candidate?
I never thought that a Republican candidate for president would hold both liberal and conservative policies at the same time.
Right.
I mean, this is totally fascinating. Visit the website battlefield.buzz for the latest from Chris and Trey from the Battlefield Live radio show. Are you looking for a reasonable and affordable way to enhance your image or your company's image on the internet? Are you looking for ways to leverage internet technology to streamline your business? an upgraded website or web application is the way to go. Vast Virtual Solutions is a technology company that specializes in developing websites that operate on the cutting edge with the ability to save you and your business time and money. Visit vastvirtual.com for a business quote today. vastvirtual.com. Thank you for sticking with us on the battlefield. Listen to Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network, Battlefield Live radio program, and WGSO 990 AM. I want to thank you for sticking with us. If you want to give us a call, you can call us 504-556-9696. Want to go to the phones, we'll pick up Joseph from Metairie. What's going on, Joseph?
You won't believe what I have in my hand right now.
What you got? What you got?
A little red book. That was the thing that all the cultural revolutionary, the students, whatever, when they were roaming around the countryside. I bought it, a translation. It's a copy of the little red book. It almost looks like a little communist Bible. I guess that's what you would call it. It's
right.
called The Quotations of Chairman Mao Zedong, and it has it's a plastic red cover with a gold star.
Right.
It's a red cover book. And this is from chapter 27. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
I'll read it. Hold on. Let's see. Criticism and self-criticism. The Communist Party does not fear criticism because we are Marxists and the truth is on our side and the basic masses. The workers and peasants are on our side. And it's the speech at the Chinese Communist
let me
Party National.
Let me explain that, Joseph. So a lot of people out there may not have, in their right hand a communist Bible, if you will. I'm impressed that you have that. Yeah, I'm impressed that you have that. What you're talking about is critical theory. So just to give you a little brief background, in our book Deus Ex Machina, we actually wrote about how the Frankfurt Marxists, who inspired people like Mao and people more like Lenin and Stalin. In fact, they left Germany when Hitler took over because Hitler was trying to rid the countryside of communists, which is probably a good thing if his antidote wasn't that insidious as it was. But the Frankfurt Marxists developed what they called critical theory, and it based basically on what Mao was saying is that criticism is welcome because if you criticize something enough, it'll be the conflict that will drive change. So the point is that, and you see this with political correctness, people really don't realize that political correctness is Marxism. And the reason why is because they want to criticize your way of thinking in order to get you to think differently. So they call you a racist or a homophobe or a sexist or whatever they try to do. And the intention is to get you to suppress yourself or repress yourself in order to be able to implement social justice and social change.
Well,
Does that make sense?
That's what I thought was behind this thing. What Obama said, well, we need to have a national conversation about race. Well, I
That's
heard
correct.
that. Knowing what I know a little bit about how communists think, I started to pick that up.
Right.
So that's definitely part of a communist way of thinking.
Right. So Joseph, I want to thank you for your call. It's very interesting, and please call back. What the thing that Joseph is mentioning here is Barack Obama said that we have to have a conversation about race. So did Eric Holder. In fact, we do have to have a conversation about race. But the conversation that is to be had is not, about, at least in the eyes and the view of Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and other people like him that are progressives that are aligned more with the Marxist point of view, is through conflict. So they believe that the type of stuff that we're seeing with Black Lives Matter is actually a good thing. That is actually a way to progress. We do that through conflict, and violent conflict is a form of that conflict. So, what they do is they agitate different parts of society. In other words, they agitate the whites and they agitate the blacks. And when they get together and they have class warfare, is what Marxism is class warfare. Then at some point we all progress, quote unquote, to a new dialectic or a new version of society. And I know this sounds all very complicated, and I'll probably have some phone calls from some of my friends that say, well, dude, why you get into so much deep stuff? And the point is that a lot of what we experience in the media and in politics is a very surface level. We don't actually understand and go deep enough to where it comes from. And, it's probably somewhat controversial to say that Barack Obama is a Marxist or he aligns with a Marxist ideology. And this is not some kind of speculation by Chris Pilier. This is a fact that his ideology and the things that he subscribes to align very well with Marxist ideology. Now, with that said, Mao Zedong was a Marxist. Communism is built from Marxism. Marxism is the way of thinking. Communism is the goal, right? So people want to become communists, or they say they're communists. They are in favor of getting to this workers' paradise or this utopia, and that workers' paradise is communistic. So let's step back a second, and because we're about to go to a break here in a few minutes, and I want to set something up for the next couple of segments. Is that how does this affect you? Because that's the big question. I'm sure if you're listening to this and you're kind of going, all right, Chris, this kind of makes sense, but really, how does it affect me? Well, when you have people that are in government that subscribe to these radical ideologies, Anita Dunn, for instance, I forgot what role she played in the administration, but she was quoted as saying that she sees Mother Teresa and Mao Zedong as two of her mentors, at least in theory. And while I would say that Mother Teresa is a very noble person to model your life after, Mao Zedong is an absolute disaster and borderline, I would even say, evil for the things that he took part in. Now, and let's explain what Mao Zedong did. He set up a system that removed incentive for the people that were working within it. So, in other words, people that were in agriculture, the way it used to be was that they would grow whatever type of products, and they had livestock and things of that nature, and they would go to the open market and sell it, and the better quality that they had, the more money that they could make. And obviously, supply and demand is a part of that whole process. What Mao Zedong did is he said, we're going to eliminate private property. So he confiscated all of this production, and the people that were operating in it no longer had to they weren't incentivized anymore. At first, it was probably exciting for them because they were going to get paid regardless of how much food that they produced, how much agriculture that they produced. The problem with that is that then the system gets away from merit-based economics where people get money for the product that they produce. Instead, it's political in nature. So politics becomes the prime mover in the economy. So these people that were producing the agriculture, instead of starving because they weren't making any money because of their poor production, they just lied about it. They told Mao Zedong that, and his staff or his Politburos, whatever way you want to look at it, they said, oh, well, we produced a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, we met all the goals, and then once that took place, there was no consequences, at least initially, because it was a lie. It was political. Businesses can't lie. Businesses make money or they don't make money. If they don't make money, they don't survive, and another business will move into its place. That's why the free market works. So the result of Mao's policies resulted in mass starvation because one man or a group of men within a Politburo cannot control the economy. They don't have the ability to. The fact is that Americans make millions upon millions upon millions of decisions every minute. And for the fact that 500 people in Washington, D.C. can control the decision-making process as well as the outcomes is absolutely absurd. But socialists and progressives will try to convince you otherwise. And they'll do things like Obamacare. So Obamacare is going to be our discussion. We're going to talk about how Obamacare is doing something similar, not as radical and as extreme as the 5-year plan or the Great Leap Forward, as Mao Zedong did, but it's starting to destroy people's access to health care, and at some point it'll destroy people's lives. Trying to control the economy through regulation is no different than trying to control the economy through tyranny. Regulation is soft tyranny. It was explained by Bastiat in the law as plunder. It was also explained by Montesquieu. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about this, and the biggest thing here is to understand how it impacts you and what will happen if it continues to go forward. So stick with us on the battlefield, folks. You're listening to Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network. You can call me 504-556-9696. We'll be right back after this short break.
Experience Augie's, formerly Augie's Glass Garden, now in Harahan. Augie's, truly a gorgeous place. Where can you go to experience super jumbo soft-shell crabs for only $14.95 and the area's largest seafood platters? Private parties, receptions, reunions, and events of all types can be handled at Augie's. 6005 Jefferson Highway in Harahan. Call for reservations 733-3000. Check us out on the web, augiesnola.com. Did you ever think that the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States would have similar policy and, suggestions as the Democratic Socialist candidate?
I never thought that a Republican candidate for president would hold both liberal and conservative policies at the same time.
Right.
I mean, this is totally fascinating. Visit the website battlefield.buzz for the latest from Chris and Trey from the Battlefield Live radio show.
Millions of people are asking the question, what has happened to America? Is there hope? What will our children and grandchildren face in years to come? America, there is hope. The same hope expressed by the colonists in 1607 when they placed a cross on the Virginia shore, proclaiming, "In God we trust." In God we trust. It's still our hope. It's our future. It's our national motto. Go to ingodwetrust.com and get your hope today.
Are you looking for a reasonable and affordable way to enhance your image or your company's image on the internet? Are you looking for ways to leverage internet technology to streamline your business? An upgraded website or web application is the way to go. Vast Virtual Solutions is a technology company that specializes in developing websites that operate on the cutting edge with the ability to save you and your business time and money. Visit vastvirtual.com for a business quote today. vastvirtual.com.
Check out DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops. Don't miss out on their happy hour, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. You get $2 domestic bottles, $1.75 domestic draft, 2-for-1 well drink, $3 small daiquiris, and $3 wine. On Friday, happy hour starts at 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. That's right, 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. DBC also has great drink specials throughout the week. Monday, $6.25 large daiquiris. On Tuesday, $1.75 domestic draft. Wednesday, $3 small daiquiris. On Thursday, $1 off all imports and craft beers. DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops.
Thank you for sticking with us on the battlefield. You're listening to Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network. Folks, if you want to give me a call, you can call me 504-556-9696, or you can tweet me at Paul Revere again or at Lanterns Buzz. You can watch our video. We're live streaming right now, and I'm getting the A-OK from people in there that the audio is there. We've had a problem, I think, a week ago where the audio was not there. some kind of mysterious thing in the settings on my end. But we're up and going. You can check that out, facebook.com/LanternsBuzz, and you can make some comments there on the feed on Facebook, and I'll answer any questions you have. Also, you can find our podcast at Spreaker.com, SoundCloud. Just simply do a keyword search for Lanterns Buzz. You can also find us YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Player.fm. So let's go to the phones. We'll pick up Brian in Metairie. What's going on, Brian?
Good evening, Chris. How are you and your family?
Absolutely great. How is yours?
I can't complain. A question for you.
Uh-huh.
Very recently, I saw one of the heads of Affordable Health Care Act, an older white woman with whitish gray hair, and she was being interviewed by the gentleman. He was a Democrat that ran for president some years ago, and he had a meltdown when he was getting off the jet, and he kind of lost it. I can't remember his name.
It wasn't Rahm Emanuel, was it?
No.
Or Barney Frank or somebody like that?
No, but it's in that era. Anyway, I was listening to this woman that has a position in Affordable Health Care, a high position, and she was talking about next year and how high the premiums are going to skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing. And then it just a few weeks ago, it got out that in November of last year, President Obama wrote a $7 billion check to the states that get the what do they call it? Where
subsidies?
Yeah, the subsidies, because there was not going to be enough money to pay the subsidies. So he wrote a $7 billion check, and it gets me because he doesn't have, only Congress has the power to do that, but yet he gave $7 billion to Affordable Health Care Act with no power to do it, and he does it. And it's going along with what you're saying on how the state has taken over.
Yeah, so the biggest issue, and you're pointing it out very, very well, is that Barack Obama and his administration has been, when this law came out, there were certain milestones that had to be met in order for it to be rolled out properly.
Yes.
In fact, it was somewhat of a map for rolling this thing out. And what has taken place is Barack Obama has not met those milestones. So needless to say, at the very surface level, at the very high level, he has not fulfilled his obligations in the executive branch in rolling out this particular policy. And he's chosen to do that because of politics.
He's failed. He's failed at every part of it.
Absolutely. But the problem is, Brian, is that you have a media that doesn't want to cover it. And in a lot of cases, if they covered it, people wouldn't even be that interested in it. That's why they don't cover it, because it's not sexy enough. The story isn't juicy enough. It's not like some kind of Hollywood storyline. It's some boring aspect of date that involves dates and policy that it just doesn't appeal to people. And that's the problem.
What's going to appeal to them next year? She didn't say the amount that the premiums that are going to be paid, or how much they're going up. But from what I could see, it's pretty much going to decimate the middle class.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to look at this. There's one way of looking at this is that this, and I've talked about this in previous episodes of the Battlefield Live.
I'll hang up and listen because I know you got other callers.
Okay, Brian. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. So the biggest thing, there's two ways to look at this. Number one is you have people that wanted to really make this work, and it just didn't work because they are economic idiots. I mean, just a basic high school, person that took a free enterprise class for one semester can figure out why this will not work. The second way of looking at this is there are people that wanted it to fail because they believe, like I mentioned earlier, that conflict creates change. So as this thing collapses, people are going to reach out for help. And when they do that, they're going to reach to whom? They're going to reach to the government, and the government's going to swoop in and fix everything. There's actually audio, and you can look this up yourself. I probably should have had this for the show today, but but you can look up Barney Frank and how that Obamacare was one step to get to single payer, that eventually, we would roll into single payer. Rahm Emanuel, I mentioned before, he's the guy that's noted for saying that never let a crisis go to waste, and that this particular bill, Obamacare, was intended to be able to collapse on itself. And he didn't say this word for word, but this is what he meant, is that it would collapse on itself, and eventually the people would reach out and look for single payer. So while this may sound insidious, this is first of all, it is insidious, but this is representative of what happens in places like Mao's China or Lenin's Soviet Union or Stalin's Soviet Union. Now, granted, this isn't a violent revolution. This is a progressive, incremental, progressive revolution, that we see the slow destruction of our economic system, and people that have been going to school in our current education system are not versed enough to understand the real basics of our economy and why this stuff doesn't work. The fact is that the minute that you enroll millions of more people in a healthcare scheme like Obamacare, of course the demand is going to go up and the supply is going to be limited. Of course the prices are going to go up. It's basic economics. You have a limited amount of doctors, and all of a sudden you add millions of people to the rolls of healthcare. And in many cases, these are people that could pay for it on their own. But instead, they're enrolling in these policies. In many cases, they're being forced to, or they're able to qualify for government subsidies, like Brian talked about. The fact is that the amount of health care provided is not going to increase, but the demand is going to increase tenfold. And that's why we've seen an increase in healthcare premiums. Not only that, but you also have people or companies like United Healthcare and Aetna that are backing out of the exchanges. So the competition in the exchanges is a lot less. So with the exchanges competition going away, what happens? Competition regulates prices. If you don't have competition, there is no regulation of prices. You build somewhat of a monopoly within the system, and premiums are extremely high. So how does this relate to Mao's China? Because Mao's China is an extreme example, right? 70 million people dying because of the Great Leap Forward and because of the simple politics of a controlled economy. How is this like Obamacare? Well, we'll explain that when we come back after the top of the hour, because this is Obama is indicative of a very, very small sliver of a centralized economy that progressives are slowly but surely trying to control. They want to determine who gets the wealth. They want to determine who gets the virtues of our economy. They don't want to allow the free market to determine who is wealthy and who is not. So stick with us after the break, folks. We'll get back into this. You're listening to Chris Piellier from the Lanterns Radio Network. Check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/LanternsBuzz, and you can see the video in my beautiful face. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, this is Jeff Cruaire. Join me at 7 a.m. till 11 right here on WGSO 990 a.m. or Ringside Politics with a Punch. We're going to be bringing you great guests. We'll discuss the latest hot topics and, of course, taking your phone calls. On Tuesday, Steve Zabudowski joins us at BayouBuzz.com. We'll talk about President Obama's visit to Louisiana. Is this a case of good timing, or is it too little, too late? All of that and more right here on Ringside from 7 to 11 on WGSO.
What are you doing to stop traffic when your business is ready to wow the pants off customers? Visit Sir Speedy. We produce quality signs, posters, banners, and more that are just a trick for trade shows, promotions, events, and product launches. Whether you're taking it to the street, the floor, or the counter, bigger is always better. For more information or to get a quote, go to SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com.
This advertisement does not constitute an offer to sell a franchise. The offer of a franchise can only be made through the delivery of a franchise disclosure document.
Fresh Healthy Vending is a new company that is revolutionizing the vending machine business by filling them with healthy and natural foods. That's right. Protein and energy drinks, teas and juices, yogurts, fresh fruits and veggies, soy milk, natural cereals, granola bars. Can you imagine that? It's like having a whole food store in a machine. And you can get in on the ground floor by getting your own Fresh Healthy Vending franchise. You can have your own small business placing healthy food vending machines all over your area in places like schools and hospitals and businesses and airports and other high-traffic areas. Locations that embrace the idea because, they make money too. Full training and support and assistance in acquiring locations. It's all about timing, folks. Pick up the phone, make the call to Fresh Healthy Vending, and get all the details on what could be your big life moment. Get Fresh Healthy Vending franchise information now. Call 800-424-8282. 424-8282. That's 800-424-8282.
Anytime, anywhere. Smartphone, TuneIn Radio app, WGSO.com. On the AM dial at 990, we are WGSO, New Orleans.
USA Radio News with Rod Williams-Dole.
It's hard to believe that she could even be running. To be honest with you, with the emails and the crimes she committed, she shouldn't even be allowed to run for president.
That's Donald Trump. And in summation, he said the Clinton Foundation is corrupt and needs to be shut down immediately. It's a happy birthday celebration at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Bebe's first birthday. Giant panda keeper Nicole McCorkle says Bebe sticks by his mother's side.
Bebe is a year old. He's actually a very confident little bear, but because he's still a year old, he's still with mom most of the time. So he's a little reluctant to venture out into new places.
And what do you give a panda on its first birthday? A dinner of lo mein. NASA is set to launch a mission to gather a sample from an asteroid next month. OSIRIS-REx will lift off September 8th and meet up with the asteroid next year. USA Radio News.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Have you been to conservativetribune.com? Now, this is one of the most visited news sites in the entire world, and the reason is simple. Conservativetribune.com delivers edgy and bold commentary of the news. They're unapologetically pro-America, unabashedly conservative. At conservativetribune.com, they don't make apologies for who they are or what they say. And if you're looking for more than just boring stories and simple thought, you go to conservativetribune.com. That's conservativetribune.com.
New York fire officials are urging parents to talk to their children about fire safety following recent big fires started by children. Fire Commissioner Dan Nigro has a message for parents.
Parents should ensure that children have no access to lighters or matches or don't play with the stove or other sources of fire.
A judge deals a setback to the Obama administration as we hear from USA's Chris Barnes.
A federal judge blocking the enforcement of the administration's recent directive that all public schools allow transgender students to use the bathroom that matches their personal gender identity. The judge in Fort Worth, siding with 13 states, including Texas, which say the administration's policy usurped local control and threatened student safety and privacy. The judge saying his ruling is based on the administration failing to follow rule-making procedures and not on the underlying issues of students' rights. In Washington, for USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
USA Radio News.
Geico applauds your inner ride leader.
An enthusiastic engine rev goes out to the biker in you who leads the pack. Even if that pack is a party of one, you're still a leader to Geico. To prove it, Geico will insure your motorcycle with great rates and 24/7 customer service. And with Geico by your side, you're never cruising solo. Which means you've just been nominated as a real ride leader. Congrats! The smell of fine leather and trailblazing is in your future.
Geico Motorcycle. See how much you could save.
The Olympics are now over, but for one man, his life has changed forever. Over $40,000 have been raised in a crowdfunding campaign to help an Ethiopian marathon runner seek asylum. William Denslow reports from Rio.
As he crossed the finishing line, having come second in the Olympics marathon race, Feyisa Lilesa crossed his arms over his head to make the shape of an X. And Lilesa said after the race that the Ethiopian government is killing his people. Human Rights Watch say over 400 Oromo people have died in protests against the government. But Ethiopian officials say Lilesa would be welcomed home as a hero. William Denslow, Rio de Janeiro.
The U.S. Olympic Committee says further action is coming regarding the four swimmers and their story of being robbed at gunpoint in Rio. Committee CEO Scott Blackman says they let down our athletes and they let down Americans.
The question of what the consequences are for the behavior is one that our Games Administrative Board is going to take a look at shortly after we get back. I don't want to speculate on what those consequences might be.
All four swimmers could be banned. A new Gallup poll finds 52% of Republicans, 26% of Democrats, and 33% of independents feel voter fraud is a major problem. This is USA Radio News. I'm Rod Williams Stoll.
Have you? We're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network, the Battlefield Live radio program. Give us a call, 504-556-9696. If you're watching the video on Facebook, you're getting to hear the play-by-play behind the scenes with me and Mr. Producer. So, I just gave him that information, and all of a sudden the conversation is more lively during the breaks. So if you all want to tune in on the live stream, you can. But we do implore you to make sure you listen to WGSO 990 AM, and you can share that stream with people all around the country. All you got to do is go to radio.battlefield.buzz, and then there is a tune-in player there that you can let everybody listen to. Also, you can find us on social media, Paul Revere again on Facebook, Paul Revere again on Twitter, and you can find us on Lanterns Buzz on both Twitter and Facebook. So we're talking about before the actual turn of the hour here, we're talking about what kind of hats, at least during the break, behind the scenes, what kind of hats we wear. And apparently I now know what a fez is. I've been told by Mr. Producer what a fez is, and that is a hat like the Shriners wear. And the conversation evolved into I should wear a fez during the show. And I thought that maybe it would be better that I wear a hat, a cavalier hat like the Three Musketeers. And so maybe I'll have to go shopping for hats when my wife is shopping for shoes. All right, so we're talking about Obamacare, and there was a question asked by one of the callers during the break. They wanted to ask a question, didn't necessarily want to come on the radio, and the question was, well, what happens to the insurance companies when the insurance industry collapses? Well, and keep in mind, folks, that Obamacare is an insurance system. It is not a healthcare system, right? It's intended to give people healthcare insurance, not healthcare. That's one thing that we must understand, because that's the greatest part about this big lie, Obamacare, is that it's not Obamacare, it's Obama insurance. The intention was to make people think that it was healthcare, right? Accessibility to healthcare is how it was sold, but it was actually accessibility to health insurance. So let's start off. I'm going to answer that question, but I want to start off with an explanation of why it appears that it could collapse. And here's an article out of Zero Hedge that came out by Tyler Durden on August 11th this year. It says, if Obamacare enrollments continue their current trend and insurers continue to hike premiums at alarming rates, then Republicans may not have to worry about repealing and replacing Obamacare. is it might just work itself out naturally. The fourth open enrollment period for Obamacare begins on November 1st, 2016, and industry experts are warning that another year of tepid demand from young and healthy Americans could force more insurers out of the exchanges, effectively making the end of Obamacare as we know it. Let me explain that, folks. So let's think about back to your days, if you're older like me, when you were in college, right? So you're in college, you're 20 years old, you're healthy as a lark, you're just, having a great old time. You're going out on weekends, drinking a little beers here, a little whiskey there, living it up at college, right? So you're invincible. Most people at that age, 20, 22 years old, their health is pretty doggone good. You got some little one-offs here and there where people are really, really sick. But for the most part, people don't at that age worry much about their health care because they're really, really healthy. I would think that the healthiest I've ever been in my life was around that time, even though that I was enjoying myself at LSU, drinking my fair share of nickel draft on Drinking with Lincoln nights and things like that, and cutting up a little bit here and there. But the fact of the matter is that I was very healthy. And like other 20-year-olds at that time, and 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds, the fact is that most of those individuals are healthy. So if I was a consumer at 20 years old and I was really concerned about making sure that I had catastrophic coverage in the event that driving home from one of my nights of drinking a beer or two, that a drunk driver hit me, that I would be able to go to the hospital and there would be catastrophic care so it wouldn't bankrupt me or my parents. And that would be a reasonable market for me to be in, right? But instead, Obamacare forces upon me a certain level of coverage, which is not the preferred coverage of somebody of that age. In other words, I'm paying a premium to bring down, supposedly in theory, the cost of health care because I'm putting more money into the insurance pool, right? The fact is that the youth are subsidizing health care for the people that are older because they're not having to use that health care as much. Why? Because they don't get sick. In many cases, they don't want to go to the doctor anyway. They would much rather just hang out and let it go by. I remember when I was a kid, I didn't want to go to the doctor. You get a little older and you get a little wiser, and through a couple of bad colds, you realize, hey, I probably should go to the doctor. This is not some kind of a surprise. This is human nature. People buy insurance when they're at risk. When you are at low risk, like a youth, you typically don't go get insurance. It's kind of like buying homeowners insurance when you don't have a home, or when you buy a piece of crap house and that costs you $100,000 and and you get $5 million of insurance. It doesn't make any sense, right? You buy a house and you get the insurance that's appropriate to it. Here's another example. People that are, say, 20 years old, they're buying insurance plans that cover pregnancy. So if you're a male, why would you need pregnancy coverage? Or why would you need female, doctor visit coverage or whatever, right? Because you don't have catered plans. You have these big bulk plans. It's no different than a big economy that's being run by the central government that tries to put people in these boxes. They eliminate choices. What Obamacare effectively did is started to begin the destruction of choices in our healthcare market. You used to be able to buy plans that were more catastrophic, high deductible type plans. What's the benefit of a high deductible plan? You would think, well, why would you want to pay high deductible? Well, because your high deductible plan might have a very, very low premium every month. You may pay $40 a month, $40 a month for a policy, which is really low, but have a $2,500, $3,000, $8,000 deductible in the event of a catastrophic issue, like you get a major accident and you're paralyzed or something to that nature. That would be the purpose for that type of policy. When people start getting older, they're having to visit the doctor more. So they might get a more comprehensive plan that covers things. They have to pay a higher premium. They may pay, $100 a month or $200 a month, or in some cases now it's $100 a week or more for these very big plans. I know my policy, I work with a smaller company, and I think our plan was, somewhere around $112 a week. So the bottom line is that the question about what happens to the insurance companies. Well, when the insurance companies start backing out of the market, part of the reason why is because it's not profitable for them. Remember earlier in the show, I mentioned that profit is the prime mover of a company. They want to make profit. There's no reason for a company to be in business if they can't make profit. That's the purpose, right? So stick with us on the battlefield, folks. We'll get into a little bit more of this, and I'm going to explain what happens when the insurance companies disappear. We'll be right back after this short break.
Experience Augie's, formerly Augie's Glass Garden, now in Harahan. Augie's, truly a gorgeous place. Where can you go to experience super jumbo soft-shell crabs for only $14.95 and the area's largest seafood platters? Private parties, receptions, reunions, and events of all types can be handled at Augie's. 6005 Jefferson Highway in Harahan. Call for reservations 733-3000. Check us out on the web, augiesnola.com. Did you ever think that the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States would have similar policy and, suggestions as the Democratic Socialist candidate?
I never thought that a Republican candidate for president would hold both liberal and conservative policies at the same time.
Right.
I mean, this is totally fascinating. Visit the website battlefield.buzz for the latest from Chris and Trey from the Battlefield Live radio show.
Millions of people are asking the question, what has happened to America? Is there hope? What will our children and grandchildren face in years to come? America, there is hope. The same hope expressed by the colonists in 1607 when they placed a cross on the Virginia shore, proclaiming, "In God we trust." In God we trust. It's still our hope. It's our future. It's our national motto. Go to ingodwetrust.com and get your hope today.
Are you looking for a reasonable and affordable way to enhance your image or your company's image on the internet? Are you looking for ways to leverage internet technology to streamline your business? An upgraded website or web application is the way to go. Vast Virtual Solutions is a technology company that specializes in developing websites that operate on the cutting edge with the ability to save you and your business time and money. Visit vastvirtual.com for a business quote today. vastvirtual.com.
Check out DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops. Don't miss out on their happy hour, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. You get $2 domestic bottles, $1.75 domestic draft, 2-for-1 well drink, $3 small daiquiris, and $3 wine. On Friday, happy hour starts at 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. That's right, 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. DBC also has great food for lunch or dinner. You have to try their mouth-watering, appetite-satisfying 8-ounce brisket burger, cooked to your liking. Another favorite at DBC is their Wednesday night steak night. You get a 14-ounce ribeye with a side of garlic and mashed potatoes, green beans, and garlic bread for $15. On Thursday night, you can't go wrong with their 8-ounce hamburger steak, smothered in gravy and grilled onions with a side of garlic, mashed potatoes, peas, and garlic bread for $9.95. You can check out the rest of their menu online at dbcbarandgrill.com.
Thank you for sticking with me on the battlefield, folks. So what happens with Obamacare if the insurance companies back out? All right. Now let's think about that question for a second, because this is an interesting, I guess you could say, problem that we're going to be having. And a lot of people, I think, don't realize what I guess the reasons why this is taking place. And that's really kind of what we have to focus on. Obamacare, for the most part, puts a lot of regulations and restrictions on companies, okay? Now, the healthcare industry already was heavily, heavily regulated. Now, think about this for a second. Let's shift to a different industry because I want to use this other industry as an antidote for this. Let's say you wanted to start and build a refinery in this country. I'm talking about an oil refinery. Think about all the regulations that you would have to go through, all the permits that you would have to get in order to be able to just break ground on a refinery. Okay? I don't think a refinery has been built in this country in 20 some odd years. All right? And the reason why is because the expense. So if you make it really, really expensive for your competitors or potential competitors to build a refinery in this country, you can succeed in destroying your competition. But at the same time, the target by the left, the target by the Marxist radicals that want to destroy our industry of energy, the targets are a lot less. There's only several large companies that refine in this country, and they have it under control, right? But what happens when you have less companies? You have less competition. So prices go up, right? And we complain and we bitch and moan because the prices are so high. But the reason why the prices are high is because of the cost of doing business and the destruction of competition, right? This is no different in the healthcare business. The healthcare industry is one of the most regulated industry in the world, or in the country, rather. And the reason why is because it involves people's lives. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be regulations in the healthcare industry. But what I'm telling you is that regulations reduce the amount of competition that we have in those industries because regulations are expensive. So why is it that people in the healthcare industry promote regulations of their own industry? Well, they maybe can afford to spend $20 million more in regulations in a year if they can gain $50 million in business because they've eliminated competition, right? So this is the same thing that happened with General Electric when General Electric was lobbying Congress to eliminate the incandescent light bulb. Yes, I said that. They were trying to eliminate their own product. Why? Because they couldn't compete any longer with other businesses that created incandescent light bulbs. They had these little curlicue light bulbs that nobody else was making. They decided they could eliminate the incandescent light bulb, and then they would have the open market on this, more expensive bulb. That does last longer. It's a nicer bulb, but whatever. But some people don't want to put one of those type of bulbs in their attic. They want a regular incandescent light bulb. Well, try to buy a real nice, 100-watt incandescent light bulb these days. So, all right. So we got our fun call for the day. This would be Phil the Patriot. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm greatly blessed, and I wish the same for everybody out there. The question is not when, it's not if, it's when the next hurricane enters the Gulf of Mexico and heads to New Orleans. And the question is not, if the companies back up from Obamacare, it's when. It sure will happen soon, because guess what? Obamacare was designed to destroy the United States of America.
That was a short call tonight, Mr. Producer. That was a real short call for tonight from Phil the Patriot, the mascot of the Battlefield Live, if you will. So in this last month, this is from Zero Hedge, two major insurers, Aetna and Anthem, both reversed course on their plans to expand in the marketplace. This is the exchanges, right? Now, all five of the nation's major insurers say they're losing money on the exchanges. This is a quote. "From a policy point of view, we're basically seeing the exchanges unravel," said Michael Abrams, a healthcare strategist with Numeroff and Associates, who consults for insurers, including United Health Group. So if you want to kind of get a perspective on what's happening with premiums all around the country, there's only a handful of states that have seen a reduction in premiums. That would be Mississippi, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. Michigan and Ohio is less than 2%. Indiana is 12% decrease, and Mississippi is negative 6.8%. Actually, New Mexico is also negative 4.7%. So I do want to be fair, mention that. But the majority of the states around the nation have been had some less monumental increases, and some of just astronomical increases. What's interesting is the less socialistic, if you will, states have seen huge increases on healthcare premiums. And part of that has to do with the fact of subsidies that are coming from the government. Some of these states refuse subsidies because they didn't want to be strapped to these subsidies within their budget. There's a lot of politics behind that. But in many cases, when you take money from the government, well, they're like the mob. Then all of a sudden, they hold it over your head, right? So states like California had a 1.4% increase. How about New York, 8.1%? With some other liberal states, Illinois, 8.1%. Well, look at the red states, 35.2% for Montana, 23.8% for South Dakota. New England, Nebraska, 26.2%. Colorado, 24.8%. Louisiana, 10.2%. Alabama, 12.7%. Tennessee, 38.6%. North Carolina, 20.6%. West Virginia, 21.6%. Iowa, 18.2%. Oregon, 17.6%. Idaho, 15.5%. Folks, you see what's happening here to premiums? This was being said at the time that this bill was the Affordable Care Act was being debated. Everybody with a common sense mindset when it comes to economics was saying that premiums were going to go through the roof. They were saying that insurance companies were going to back out. They were saying that you were not going to be able to keep your health care plan. You were not going to be able to keep your doctor. All of these things have come to fruition. In fact, we've chronicled it extremely well on lanterns.buzz. You can go to the search box up top and type in Obamacare, and you'll see all of the articles that we've written, including many citing numerous sources on things like this, how this was what the economists were saying about the healthcare system. Now, the question I have for you is, if this was the case in common economics, the law of economics is just like the law of gravity. It's going to come to fruition regardless of the people involved, regardless of the politics, regardless of the parties involved, regardless of the quality of doctors involved. Economics is going to come to fruition. The laws of economics are going to happen. So if this is the case, if all of the things that are happening now were predicted and it's basic economics, then why did they do it in the first place? Why don't we ask these questions, right? It's a rhetorical question, by the way, folks. Why aren't we asking the questions? Well, in some cases, some people don't care. They don't really pay attention to it that much. They get a 3 or 4% increase in their premiums, and they expect it. If you have employer-based health care, every year you probably expect an increase in your premiums. Should we expect that? No, we shouldn't. So stick with us on the battlefield, folks. If you want to give me a call and we can talk about this together, you can call me at 504-556-9696 on the Battlefield Live program with Chris Pilier from Lanterns Radio Network, WGSO 990 AM New Orleans. We'll be right back.
Check out DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops. Don't miss out on their happy hour, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. You get $2 domestic bottles, $1.75 domestic draft, 2-for-1 well drinks, $3 small daiquiris, and $3 wine. On Friday, happy hour starts at 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. DBC also has everything you need to make it your fantasy football headquarters. With 13 big screen TVs, the Sunday NFL package, and ESPN game plan, you won't miss a down. DBC wants you to have your fantasy draft party here. Just call 504-838-2282, 504-838-2282 to book your draft now. DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops.
Are you looking for a reasonable and affordable way to enhance your image or your company's image on the internet? Are you looking for ways to leverage internet technology to streamline your business? An upgraded website or web application is the way to go. Vast Virtual Solutions is a technology company that specializes in developing websites that operate on the cutting edge with the ability to save you and your business time and money. Visit vastvirtual.com for a business quote today. vastvirtual.com.
Did you ever think that the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States would have similar policy and, suggestions as the Democratic Socialist candidate?
I never thought that a Republican candidate for president would hold both liberal and conservative policies at the same time.
Right.
I mean,
like
this is totally fascinating. Visit the website battlefield.buzz for the latest from Chris and Trey from the Battlefield Live radio show.
USA Radio News with Rod Williams-Dole.
It's hard to believe that she could even be running. To be honest with you, with the emails and the crimes she committed, she shouldn't even be allowed to run for president.
That's Donald Trump. And in summation, he said the Clinton Foundation is corrupt and needs to be shut down immediately. It's a happy birthday celebration at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Bebe's first birthday. Giant panda keeper Nicole McCorkle says Bebe sticks by his mother's side.
Bebe is a year old. He's actually a very confident little bear, but because he's still a year old, he's still with mom most of the time. So he's a little reluctant to venture out into new places.
And what do you give a panda on its first birthday? A dinner of lo mein. NASA is set to launch a mission to gather a sample from an asteroid next month. OSIRIS-REx will lift off September 8th and meet up with the asteroid next year. USA Radio News.
Have you ever come home from work to find out that the power's out? You reach the power company and they inform you that it'll be out for another 8 hours. Panic sets in. You've been told to prepare for this before. Bottled water, radio, flashlight, easy to prepare meals. And for the next 8 hours, everyone is on edge. No AC, no TV, no hot dinner tonight. What will happen to your family if this same situation were to last 2 days, a week, or even a month? This is Colonel Rusty Humphreys to tell you about Heaven's Harvest. Heaven's Harvest has long-term storable food and water products that will ensure your family's well-being through any man-made or natural disaster. Don't wait for the power to go out. Go to heavensharvest.com and secure your family's well-being today. That's heavensharvest.com or call 800-516-4773. Again, 800-516-4773. Heavensharvest.com. Use promo RUSTY and receive free shipping. Heavensharvest.com. That's heavensharvest.com.
This is Jeff Cruier with my commentary of the day. Well, Donald Trump is now saying that the Clinton Foundation should close. And of course it should. This is a bogus organization. It's all about making money for Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. Reports show that 90% of what is raised goes toward overhead and salaries. Only 10% goes to charity. Ask the people in Haiti how much work the Clinton Foundation has done for them. Their fundraising practices have been despicable. Raising money from countries with abysmal records on human rights, on the treatment of gays and women. There's also been way too much collusion between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation. Officials with the Clinton State Department were in close contact with Clinton Foundation staff members. Requests were made to give special treatment to big donors to the Clinton Foundation. And this is one scam which needs to come to an end. More info on this and the other hot topics of the day, check out ringsidepolitics.com.
Millions of people are asking the question, what has happened to America? Is there hope? What will our children and grandchildren face in years to come? America, there is hope. The same hope expressed by the colonists in 1607 when they placed a cross on the Virginia shore, proclaiming, "In God we trust." In God we trust. It's still our hope. It's our future. It's our national motto. Go to ingodwetrust.com and get your hope today.
Experience Augie's, formerly Augie's Glass Garden, now in Harahan. Augie's, truly a gorgeous place. Where can you go to experience super jumbo soft-shell crabs for only $14.95 and the area's largest seafood platters? Private parties, receptions, reunions, and events of all types can be handled at Augie's. 6005 Jefferson Highway in Harahan. Call for reservations 733-3000. Check us out on the web, augiesnola.com.
You're listening to the Battlefield Live radio program. Folks, if you're interested in this type of stuff, because this does get into the more philosophical side of what goes on in our politics. And I guess the thing that drove me to write my book Deus Ex Machina and to really dig is I just wanted to understand why. I guess it goes back to our childish nature. How many kids do you hear? Why? It's just a natural desire to want to know why. And so I didn't understand the motivations of people that would try to knowingly destroy our economy. It just didn't make any sense to me. And as I studied the ideologies of people like Karl Marx and Lenin and Stalin and Nietzsche and Darwin and all the different people throughout history that built their ideologies off of German existentialism. There, I said it. Everybody out there playing the drinking game with German existentialism from the Battlefield Live, it is your turn to drink. So the all of that came from this anti-Western culture. So I found it fascinating that I was able to understand why it is that progressivism, liberalism, socialism, whatever you want to call it, communism which is really the result of or I shouldn't say a result, it's more of a goal, a communist utopia, if you will. It's never achievable. It's never been achieved. It never will be. It's a false utopia. But understanding these ideologies made the politics make sense. So it's, if you ever watch The Matrix, you have those guys sitting behind the computer screen with all the green letters coming down, and the guy was looking into the green letters and he can see the people. Well, when you understand philosophy, specifically the philosophy of these political types, then you can see the people through the haze of politics. Then the politics, it made sense to me. I didn't like it. In some cases, it's like the difference between the red and the blue pill. If you watch The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, once you take I forgot which pill it is. It's either the blue pill or the red pill is the one that makes you see the truth. But the fact is that once you see the truth, it scares the crap out of you because you realize that there's people out there that are trying to destroy our way of life. And it's not because they just want to destroy stuff. It's because they think our system is unjust. So if you're watching on Lanterns Buzz on Facebook, you'll see the book here. You can pick up this book at Amazon.com. You can just do a keyword search for Chris Pilier, or if you want to spell out Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism. I would say it's easier trying to spell my last name, P-I-L-I-E. Look on there, and you can get the Kindle version for $9.99. We tried to get the cheapest versions out there. The paperback, I think, is in the 20s, and then the hardcover, which I love hardcover books, is in the 30s. But it's definitely worth a read. It's over 400 some odd pages, 442 to be exact. And there's topics such as progressive Marxism, the creation of progressive vanguard, critical race theory, Saul Alinsky, the Students for Democratic Society, the Tides Foundation, Adolf Hitler, we're going to him, Antonio Gramsci, Georgy Lukács, He was a Hungarian communist. Karl Marx, Marxism, and so forth. So this book is really, this will explain a lot to you, and it has a lot of great resources at the back. We've sourced everything out. So if you want to check on me and make sure I'm telling the truth, you got all the sources in the back. I want to continue this conversation with a couple of quotes from Lenin. Lenin said a revolution is impossible without a revolutionary situation. Furthermore, not every revolutionary situation leads to revolution. Never let a crisis go to waste. A revolution is impossible without a revolutionary situation. The revolutionary situation is a crisis. Things are in collapse. What happens during a revolution? Things collapse. It's no different than a crisis. A crisis just happens to be, it could be, implemented, purposefully, or it could be accidentally. So what happens when all the insurance companies leave the insurance business? Where do we get our health care insurance, right? Well, the revolutionary situation is the collapse of the healthcare industry, and then the government comes in the revolution to save the day, right? It's that simple. Single payer would be the result, most likely, at least the beginning of it. And at some point, it'll be a national healthcare system where you don't pay for anything. While that sounds great, go ask the Canucks up north of the United States, or go ask the English how their healthcare system is. It sucks. They have people that are, I've heard stories and read stories in the media about people drinking out of pots in hospitals because they don't have water fountains at work. People delivering babies in the hallways. People, pulling out their own teeth because their line for the dentist is too damn long. I mean, crazy, crazy stories like this. And the reason why is because there's no competition. There's no need for merit. You don't have to be a good doctor. You just have to be one to get paid as a doctor. So if there's no competition, then why do you have to succeed? Why do you have to excel in what you do? You can just be. You don't have to be efficient. You don't have to hire the correct people. You just hire whatever you want. You don't have to worry about being in business because you're a part of the system. That is why the system collapses. Is because it becomes more expensive, because efficiency goes away. People don't care about profits because they're not making profit. They're just getting paid by the government. There's no more businesses. Private property goes away. At some point, if that continues, in the most extreme cases, people will be working for free. They'll be working for food stamps or whatever that may be. That's what happened in Soviet Union. So the reason why we talk about this, and it may seem somewhat hyperbolic, people might listen to this and go, oh, come on, Chris. We're not headed towards the Soviet Union. We might have some things that we need to work on and make better in the healthcare system, but we're not going to end up like the Soviet Union. Well, if you would actually go back about 50 years ago and told the American 50 years ago that we would have pretty much almost a nationalized healthcare system, a nationalized energy sector, which the sector is, once again, it's a communist term, sector. If you would tell them that our education system would have been, for the most part, nationalized. I mean, folks, if you send your kid to a private school, you're still paying for public school. Your taxes pay for public school. So you're double paying for education. How fair is that? Well, the way that the Marxists look at it is, well, you can afford private school. You should be able to afford public school for someone else. So once the system gets so corrupted and it becomes politicized, because that's really what happens. When the system collapses and everything is shuffled to the government, then in order for you to get taken care of, you have to go through politics. You have to maybe call somebody that you know on the inside to see if you can get your appointment boosted up because, you got some kind of ailment that could possibly kill you, right? So when you get rid of the free market, politics takes over. Let's explore that for a second because I think this is an interesting thing to discuss, and we got just a minute here before we go into our last segment. When when you have a business, the politics in the business is value. What is it that I can sell that people want to pay for? That's a bit the idea of a business. If there's a demand for something, the business people out there, the entrepreneurs, are going to find a way to give it to that demand because they want to make profit. They want to make money. They want to support their family or whatever the self-interest may be. So the fact of the matter is if you eliminate that incentive to make profit, if you eliminate that incentive to make money, then where does the incentive lie? It doesn't eliminate the self-interest. The self-interest is still there. The self-interest then shifts to a merit-based reward, to a politically based reward. That's why progressivism is such a politically potent system. Socialism is politically potent. You have to, in order to get things done, you have to be in politics. You have to be in government because the government controls everything. It doesn't eliminate the poor people. The poorest people in the world are in communist countries. Look at North Korea. All right, folks, stick with me on the battlefield. We'll be right back after this short break, and we'll close out the show with some final thoughts. So stick with us.
Check out DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops. Don't miss out on their happy hour, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. You get $2 domestic bottles, $1.75 domestic draft, 2 for $1 well drink, $3 small daiquiris, and $3 wine. On Friday, happy hour starts at 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. That's right, 11 a.m. till the sun goes down. DBC also has great drink specials throughout the week. Monday, $6.25 large daiquiris. On Tuesday, $1.75 domestic draft. Wednesday, $3 small daiquiris. On Thursday, $1 off all imports and craft beers. DBC Bar and Grill, 1001 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till the party stops.
Millions of people are asking the question, what has happened to America? Is there hope? What will our children and grandchildren face in years to come? America, there is hope. The same hope expressed by the colonists in 1607 when they placed a cross on the Virginia shore, proclaiming, "In God we trust." In God we trust. It's still our hope. It's our future. It's our national motto. Go to ingodwetrust.com and get your hope today.
Are you looking for a reasonable and affordable way to enhance your image or your company's image on the internet? Are you looking for ways to leverage internet technology to streamline your business? An upgraded website or web application is the way to go. Vast Virtual Solutions is a technology company that specializes in developing websites that operate on the cutting edge with the ability to save you and your business time and money. Visit vastvirtual.com for a business quote today. vastvirtual.com.
Did you ever think that the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States would have similar policy and, suggestions as the Democratic Socialist candidate?
I never thought that a Republican candidate for president would hold both liberal and conservative policies at the same time.
Right.
I mean,
like
this is totally fascinating. Visit the website battlefield.buzz for the latest from Chris and Trey from the Battlefield Live radio show.
Experience Augie's, formerly Augie's Glass Garden, now in Harahan. Augie's, truly a gorgeous place. Where can you go to experience super jumbo soft-shell crabs for only $14.95 and the area's largest seafood platters? Private parties, receptions, reunions, and events of all types can be handled at Augie's. 6005 Jefferson Highway in Harahan. Call for reservations 733-3000. Check us out on the web, augiesnola.com.
Thank you for sticking with me on the battlefield, folks. So look, some of this stuff is really, really difficult to talk about because it's a heavy topic. The message has to get out. People have to understand this message, right? We got to understand why it is that we're seeing the failures in this country the way we are. We also have to realize that people within our government are not going to fix these problems. I don't care what Donald Trump says. I don't care what Hillary Clinton says. They're not going to fix these problems by doing things on their end except for freeing the market. The way to fix these problems is to give us the problems back. Let us fix the problems. What we saw in Louisiana during these floods is indicative of the government stepping out of or getting out of the way of the people. Let the locals who understand the terrain, that understand the tributaries of rivers, that understand where mailboxes are in the area, let them rescue people. Let doctors provide health care, not bureaucrats. You know, we do have a problem when you have these big middlemen in these insurance companies. It's understandable. Well, why is it that they have gotten so big? Like I mentioned earlier, it's because of regulation. So in an article in thehill.com, it says increasingly there are two Obamacares. There's one in the coastal and northern areas where the marketplaces include multiple insurers and plans. And there's the one in the southern and rural areas where there is often little competition, a situation that can lead to higher premiums. Aha, as I mentioned before. Here's a quote. There's really two kinds of stories that we're playing out, says Cynthia Cox, who studies insurer competition at the Kaiser Family Foundation. The trend is likely to be accelerated by departure of Aetna and United Healthcare from Obamacare marketplaces in 2017. The loss of those insurers won't affect all parts of the country equally, experts say. The combined effect of these exits is mostly concentrated in southern states and particularly rural counties within those states, Cox says. According to the analysis from the consulting firm Avalier, as of now, there will just be one insurer offering Obamacare coverage next year in 7 states: Alabama, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Wyoming, Alaska, North Carolina, and Kansas. It is possible that more insurers could enter these markets before next year. In one county in Arizona, there might not be an Obamacare plan available at all. Aetna had been the only insurer offering a plan in Pinal County, unless federal, state, and state officials can find another insurer to fill the void in 2007. There enters the government plan. If there's no policy that people can buy in a certain county, then the government's going to step in and they're going to make a plan. That's where single payer comes in. It's happening, folks. This is what progressivism is. Progress towards what? Well, we could say in this case, progress towards single payer. This is not some surprise, folks. We've talked about this for a long time. And if you are out there and you've been paying attention to politics and you were against Obamacare, most likely it's because of these results. So how do we spread the word? How do we share the solutions? That we are the solutions. Let us manage it. Why is it that we can't figure out what kind of healthcare policy we can buy, but yet we can go and vote people to put in place that are going to figure out what healthcare policy we ought to buy? Think about the logic there. That's the problem we're dealing with. We're dealing with circular logic, or what I would like to call a liberal, socialist, progressive paradox. It exists in everything. You know, there's this big thing about the transgendering bathrooms, right? Or whatever the hell they call them, that people can use whatever hell bathroom they want. But at the same time, they're trying to fix inequality in the pay gap. In other words, they think that women aren't getting paid as much as men, and they're trying to figure that out. But at the same time, they can't figure out who's a man and who's a woman. That's the liberal progressive paradox that I talk about on occasion. This is indicative of a lot of different progressive policies. And look, it's not that all progressives are some evil, shady, character. A lot of them want to do the right thing. The intention with a lot of people with Obamacare was good. But I would argue that many of the people that put this policy together knew the results, and the results would lead to single payer. They just knew that the American people wouldn't buy single payer because they heard the horror stories of overseas. Progressives and socialists do not understand the economics of the world for the most part. They think that if you destroy something, you can build something back up and it'll be more successful. The fact is that revolutionaries, socialists, progressives, they want to live in perpetual revolution. Look at Castro. They still celebrate the revolution as if the revolution's still occurring. Why? Because it is. That's why they still drive around for the most part in cars from the 1960s. When was the last time you drove around in a Cuban car? And I know they got some embargoes and things like that, but they don't have building cars for their own people. When was the last time you drove around in a Russian car? Why is that? Because their society doesn't produce quality products. Why? Because they have a restricted society. Now, Russia's getting better when it comes to that. I still believe that they're run by a fascist oligarch. But they are opening up their market to some extent. I would imagine at some point you may drive around in a Russian car. If you look at where the freedom is in the world, you'll notice that they produce virtuous products or valuable products. Germany, you get a lot of nice, pretty German cars. Italy, even as socialist as it is, you still get some nice Italian cars. Of course, you have to be a multimillionaire to be able to afford it. So the point is that socialism doesn't work, folks. Obamacare is just one little sliver of that. We could talk about the Great Leap Forward, as we did with Mao, or the 5-year plan that Mao put in place, or the plans that Stalin put in place. The fact is that the federal government at the highest levels cannot figure out what 350 million people want to do in this country. They do not know what's best for us. We have to do that. And we can't sacrifice our freedom and liberty any longer. I know it may sound strange to say it that way. For some that may be listening that, don't revere liberty and freedom. But the fact is that is how success and excellence is built. It's through free markets. It's through people's ability to provide supply to the demand. Supply side economics. Or what the left use the euphemism of trickle-down economics, which is absolutely the opposite of what supply-side economics is. Supply-side economics is, in fact, trickle-up because the employees are paid before the owners. That's the way that the economy works. So I want to thank you once again, folks, for joining us on the battlefield. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll have the podcast on Spreaker.com and SoundCloud. You can do a keyword search for Lantern's Buzz. You can also find it on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Player.fm. Visit lanterns.buzz for other podcasts, including our own, as well as some latest blog posts from me. Check it out. We'll talk to you later, Tater.
Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics. I'd like to introduce WGSO General Manager